E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here. I'm joined today by Mr. Emerson Brantley. And folks, I tell you what, it is a wonderful day for us to be here because this week we're going to be talking about something near and dear to our heart, and that is our love for dogs. Emerson, I know you're a dog lover, and thank you so much for joining with us.
Who let the dogs out? Who?
Yeah, I never did figure out who let the dogs out. I wish I'd have learned that one there myself, but while we were sitting here, we were visiting and all. I forgot to update our marquee, but I'm doing that right now. But in every show, we like to start out by remembering what the day is. And we're going to remember what yesterday was because we forgot to mention it. We really did. And yesterday, June the 6th, was D-Day.
78th anniversary.
78th anniversary. Emerson, that was a very important day for us, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
A lot of people. Go ahead.
I had the privilege when I was doing the work with VFW and with American Forest years ago of meeting literally hundreds and hundreds at that time still of the survivors from D-Day and hearing their stories. It was a powerful, powerful moment. And, as history really shows us, well, freedom isn't free. Mm-hmm. As history really shows us, though, a lot of times it's hanging in the balance. And each one of the people that was involved had a part in making that balance tip. And nowadays, I mean, it doesn't change a lot of the aspects of battle, but those boys, they didn't have armor to wear, they didn't have anything, and they're jumping out in water that was up to their neck, tripping over obstacles and having continuous fire. Just it's something that when you talk with the people and you realize that this is the 78th anniversary, that was I think around 70 at that time, but you realize, here's a 19, 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid just running on adrenaline and sheer terror. But they were for the grace of God, or luck or whatever you want to think of it as. But they did it. And because they did it, we're here. Oh, lost your voice.
There we go. I got to put a quarter back in this thing. I put a mint in my mouth, and while I was enjoying my mint, I muted it so I wouldn't be chomping.
But so it's always a good time to salute and to and to bear in mind that's sacrifice. A lot of stuff we consider sacrifice isn't, it might be emotionally, but I mean
they're labeled as the greatest generation, and not only because of the folks on the battlefield, but also the folks back home.
Yes.
The men and women who supported the effort, because this was a national come together, just like we had after 9/11 here in the States. And because 24,000 troops, airborne troops, they're dropped into that water on June the 6th, early in the morning.
And behind the lines.
Oh, yeah.
And their parachutes are getting hung up in trees and they're sitting ducks. I mean, I can't even imagine that is.
Yeah, it just goes to show you there was a different mindset, because nowadays, a lot of people, most of the people in this country, they are too weak to do anything except complain. I hate to say that, but it's true, because I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I tell you right now, I salute what these men and women went through, because it just wasn't we normally hear about the men, but there's also females involved in that war.
Yes.
And, Emerson, that brings me up to the point that a long time coming, but June the 12th is what?
It's Women's Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Finally.
And the first one was held on June the 12th, 2018. Goodness gracious. And I remember, seeing some of the women who served in Vietnam that were nurses. And you could not pay me to do that job.
No.
With what they faced over there, the hardships, seeing, I don't want to say mangled bodies, but that's what they saw. I mean, you can imagine people getting shot up, blown up, limbs missing, all that. That was what those ladies had to face. And they were nurses, but still, it cut into their hearts. And the very first Veterans Day was held June the 12th, 2018. Ladies, let me salute you. Let me give a shout out to you. Yeah. Thank goodness you finally got a day where you could be recognized for your contribution to America's freedom. Thank you so much.
And it took many, many years before the women weren't just, support troops.
Didn't get proper recognition.
Yeah, they were under fire. They didn't get medals. They didn't get any of the things. Yeah. And here, just a few episodes back, we had one of the very first graduates from West Point.
Yes, we did.
And it took years and years and years just to get to that point.
Yeah, she's the state commander of the VFW for the state of Hawaii. In fact, they're having a convention right now. It just started yesterday, I think it was. It's going on this week there. And Deborah Lewis, I know you're busy. I know you're not able to watch because you got so much going on with your state convention, but I got to salute you, girl. She is really, really a fantastic lady. And it was an honor and privilege for us to have her on the show, wasn't it, Emerson?
Yes.
It really was.
Very much so. As a very accomplished officer, engineer, soldier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she served
just as a human being.
Oh, yeah. She excelled in all areas there.
Yeah.
She really did. And I don't know if that was my internet or yours, but one of them froze, but that's okay. We'll go on. But, the important thing is, like Deb, for example, she's a retired colonel. In the United States Army, that's an 06. 01 is a second lieutenant. 02 is a first lieutenant. 03 captain. 4 is a major. 5 is a lieutenant colonel. 6 is a full bird colonel. And 7 is a one-star general. Yeah. So she really has niched her way up. She's earned her rank. She's
got
really
the
did.
Chops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She's got the chops.
It was not delivered to her on a platter by any stretch of the imagination when she talks about her service. And you can catch her show here on YouTube. And if you have any trouble finding anything or want more details about anything we're talking about here, just email us at InspirationE360TV, and our staff will get the message to the right person so we can get the information to you ASAP. If you'd like to get in touch with Emerson at web3direct.com, please do. You can email him at Emerson at.
No, Web3 at.
Web3 at.
Web3 direct.
Web3 at. Well, yeah, let me put it up there since I got my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth and I can't see what to say here. I got it down here somewhere. Yeah. Okay, that's your website there. And let me put in there. I've got your talk with Emerson.
You can put that in there too.
Put that in there too, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
talkwithemerson.com.
Talkwithemerson.com. He's just a chatty guy, you know?
Well, from the standpoint of anything that we talk about here on the show, I'll be happy to respond
Yeah,
to you. And
sure.
the core of what I do is working with groups in their marketing. And if you have a business or company or product or service,
Yeah.
or association, an organization, and would like to toss some ideas or explore some possibilities, I'll be happy to talk with you.
Oh, yeah. And I highly recommend Emerson in that regard, because Emerson has that grassroots reality. And he talked about his work with the VFW prior. Well, guess what? He brought American Forester and Walmart together with the VFW. So I think he can handle anything that I might come up with or you can come up with. So get in touch with Emerson. He's a great guy, great friend of ours. He's our marketing director here. And please visit his website at web3direct.com. And Emerson, on the holidays today, oh my goodness gracious, there is something in particular I just got to mention. Today is the National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Ooh, when I was a kid, that was, still is one of my favorite ice creams. I've expanded from chocolate, but when I was a kid, chocolate ice cream was the cat's meow, brother.
Well, now they have chocolate chip. They have moose tracks. They have all sorts of different varieties of swirls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back when I was growing up, it was either vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry. So that was yeah. And with a choice of three, I can always make the right choice. You give me 25 choices, I'm going to bolo it. What can I say?
I went to when I was doing outside sales, there was a place, I can't think of the name of the proprietor now, but he had a local ice cream emporium. And they had a challenge Sunday. And it had 10 scoops of ice cream and anything else you wanted on it. And if you could eat that whole sundae, they took a snapshot of you, put it up on the wall, and every year on your birthday, you came back, you got a free one. So I thought that's a real good way for me to be able to take my young daughters out for an ice cream sundae that'll blow their mind because it's this big, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I one day when I was out, I went by and I did it, and I ate it. Yeah. I can have any flavors that I wanted and anything on it that I wanted. And the only rule was you had to sit there and eat the whole thing, and you couldn't get sick. You couldn't. I said, well, can I have a cup of coffee with it? And they said, well, nobody's ever asked for anything more. You want something more? I said, yeah, just some black coffee, please.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that's how I made it through it.
So you were able to. You did it, huh? You accomplished
it. I did
it,
man.
Oh, man.
And every year on my birthday, I take my daughters and we'd go and we'd get our free giant 10 scoop sundae.
Mercy. So that's amazing. It really is.
Well, the other thing, they got to put all of their syrups and things on it too, so it was a super sugar high. But when you came back, anytime you came back, you ordered it any way you wanted it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did all that syrups and sugars and all that, did that put you in orbit around Jupiter? Did you get a headache?
I had that black coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it coming. Just keep the coffee coming.
Yeah. I understand that. But we're going to be starting yesterday. We wanted to have a little fun. We wanted to talk about our dogs because dogs are just so special to us.
Yes.
They're just, they're part of our families. And, you know, we've had dogs, you know, we all had dogs that sometimes they do the nutsiest things and they have the quirkiest personalities. I mean, there's no two dogs alike. And it just goes to show you how amazing that this creation of this world that we live in is. It's just a dog itself, just by the way they act and the way they look. And, you know, the thing that gets me, Emerson, is that You can train a dog, and you can train a dog, and you can train a dog, and you think, well, I think we're making some progress here. But you do that one little special thing that spoils them, and they go like, hey, now you're talking. They get it first time, don't they?
Well, and they are smart. They've done so much science. In
Oh,
fact, I
yeah.
should have thought about it. I have a copy of a Smithsonian magazine that was all about canine
Mhm.
studies that have been taking place. But
Mm.
of all of the domesticated animals throughout time, there's only one, and that's the dog, canine,
Mm.
that can read us better than we read ourselves. They can show dogs pictures of 30 or 40 different emotional images, and the dogs will react to those different images.
Mhm.
They can take dogs, and through their massive sense of smell,
Mm.
they can detect cancers. They can detect
Oh,
bombs, right? They can detect people who are buried in rubble.
yeah.
And one of the amazing things is, especially for children, they can detect low blood sugar.
Yes.
And if a child goes into a diabetic reaction in the middle of the night, they can go into a coma.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and the dog sitting there will wake the dog up,
Mhm.
and their sense is so in tune with us.
Mhm.
That species is so in tune with us. It
Mm.
is insane.
It
And
really
there's
is.
no other animal. Look, you can have a whole barnyard full of cows. There's not a cow who can do any of this stuff, and they've been
Mm.
around longer as long as the dogs.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
You're not going to. You're just not going to find any other animal.
Mm.
And God bless you, all you cat lovers.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have seeing eye cats, and you don't have cats that are detecting blood sugar, and you don't have any of these things. And I'm not gonna get into a discussion over their attitude versus the intelligence. Okay,
Mm. Yeah.
but only the dog,
Mhm.
only canines, and
Mhm.
it's just amazing.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about dogs is that dogs live with you. And I'm a cat lover, so I can say this. The problem with cats, you live with cats.
You,
They
you,
rule the roost. They have their own agenda. When you
you,
say something like "come here," they'll look at you like, oh, they'll take a message and get back with you at their convenience. Everything.
you're their administrative.
Yeah.
You're their admin.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I'd like to share something here about you talked about this. Someone had diabetes. There was an article here on Mental Floss about dogs, and it's called Kiko the Biter. This one particular one. I'm going to share this with you so I don't slaughter the story. Now, you wouldn't think that the act of biting off a man's toe would be a life-saving act, but that's what happened to a guy by the name of Jerry Doudet, I guess, Douthettt.
Doubt it.
Say it again.
Doubt it. No, I only
Now,
know because the best man at my first wedding
oh,
was that
okay.
David Doubt.
I
And
have a
he had all of
unique.
it. Well, he had all 10 fingers. I assume he had all 10 toes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, because I'm glad Emerson corrected me on that because I have this unique talent that I can mispronounce names first time correctly, no problem. But he lived up in Rockford, Michigan, and he had been nursing a sore toe. He had had trouble with his toe, and it became infected. And his wife was trying to get him to go to the doctor, get it checked out. But being a guy, I'm all right, and so one night, it just says that he decided he's going to bolster his courage now, and he had several beers and 2 giant margaritas. That's a nice way of saying he got baptized with alcohol on the inside, okay? And he passed out, went to sleep. Well, his little terrier, Kiko, took matters into his own hands. Kiko actually chewed most of his infected toe off as he slept. So now the guy's got no choice. He's got to go to the emergency room, get this thing, looked at. And when he gets there, his blood sugar is very, very high. It's at 560,
Wow. That's
and it should be below 120.
yeah,
So,
that's it's up in stroke territory.
yes, yes, you're talking critical. So this little dog knew, he sensed the problem. He knew what the problem was. And he says, I got to get rid of this toe. And the surgeons afterwards said, you know, it's just amazing that this dog did that, because they had to finish amputating the toe, which it actually saved his life. And
Probably
because,
lowered his blood pressure.
yeah, and if this undiagnosed diabetes problem,
Yeah.
caused his dog to chew off that toe,
Yeah.
he considered putting Kiko down for his actions. But after considering that the dog actually saved his life, he realized, oh my gosh, he said, well, from now on, I'll just wear shoes when I go to bed.
Yeah, and don't dip your toe in the dog food.
Yeah. But see, that little dog knew that he had a problem, and because he didn't know he was diabetic.
It really is amazing. Dogs can detect cancers.
Oh gosh, yes.
And dogs are, as I've already mentioned, they can detect blood sugar levels.
Mm-hmm.
Kids who are having who are bipolar, they can detect.
Mm-hmm.
When chemically they're starting to shift, and they need to have some adjustment in the biochemistry. But these are all things that they're able to do. They can read our emotions, our faces, better than we can.
Oh,
better than we can.
They ought to send dogs to medical school to diagnose for doctors.
They do.
They do. Really?
Yeah, they have in a lot of wards, especially with kids, because it's a scary place, and it's cold, and it's hard. But especially with kids, when they need to narrow down something or find out something, not just for emotional support, not just for emotional support, and then because of other reasons where somebody may or may not be able to go into the testing or into the facilities, or maybe it's not available. In some parts of the world, it's not available, but they have found that dogs are amazing. They can always validate it. They can always, I mean, you've heard me say before, in marketing is all, if there's one 4-letter word about marketing, it would be test. We're always testing. But the thing is, you always want to do after an initial test, you always want to do that validation test to make sure that you didn't skew something somewhere or miss something and have two that back up each other.
Right.
Well, they continue to do that, but it's just amazing the level of accuracy. I tell you what, if there's an earthquake or natural disaster, hundreds of thousands of people each year would probably not make it, except for the dogs that they have trained to be able to find them.
Yeah.
To rescue them. And the other things they do with those, sniffing out bombs, sniffing out landmines.
Oh yeah.
It's another thing that they're trained to do.
They're just amazing. You really are.
Yeah.
One of the charities we promote is a Shelter to Soldier and .org. You see it there on the marquee. And Emerson, you remember Dustin Potash. We had him on the show for several days. I invited him on when you were teaching marketing to help them with their marketing. And as you taught marketing for a couple of weeks, I think it was, and we had him on there just about every day, Dustin. And Dustin is a veteran. He's also has one of these dogs, but the story behind Shelter to Soldier, it was started out in California, and it was a situation where they go in to the animal shelters and they select the dogs, the bigger dogs that are not normally, they're not real high on the list to get adopted. And they take these dogs out and they put them in training. And these dogs are trained for PTSD. They're trained for many different things. And then they bring a soldier in who has requested a dog, and they allow the soldier to meet with 3 or 4 dogs, whatever best suits that soldier's need. And when it comes to the suicide rate of losing 22 veterans a day, not one veteran that's gotten a dog from this organization has committed suicide.
Yeah, that's right.
And those dogs, when they just sense when you're having a bad day, look at your family dog. Don't they come up to you sometimes and want to show you some love when you're kind of depressed or down to dumps or aggravated? I mean, that's happened to me, and that has happened to everybody, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it can be annoying as all get out when they do, because it's like you are wanting to wallow in it, and they're sitting. And our dog that we sadly lost last year, Abby was a rescue. Abby would come up and just shove her nose. We'd be sitting on the couch, just shove her nose right up into our lap and just look us straight in the eye. A lot of animals, a lot of dogs included for that matter, but a lot of animals don't look you straight in the eye. You know,
No.
And we've had 3 different Rottweilers, and they are one breed that does. And she would come shove her snout right there up on your knee and just look you straight in the eye.
Oh yeah.
And just and wanting you to rub her and pet her and everything else. She was a big old love muffin. But she was picking up, you know.
Yeah.
She would be picking up.
Oh yeah.
Something was going on.
Oh yeah, because it's amazing how the dogs are, because when you're around other dogs that you're not familiar with, it's a good practice not to look at them in the eye.
Yes.
Because that in the wild kingdom or in the animal world, that's considered a threat.
Yes.
Because if you notice 2 dogs and one's dominant and the other one isn't, and they meet for the first time, the dominant dog is staring at him.
And the other dog is his head down.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I don't want to look at you.
Yeah, and we look at it as being hangdog, as hanging their head, but what they're really doing is they're not wanting to make that eye contact.
Right, exactly. And I tell people this because, a lot of people when they're training dogs, they want the dog to sit, let them go out the door, then they take the dog out. That goes against their DNA 100%, because a dog is a pack animal. And when they come into your house, you are their family is your family is their
you
pack.
are their pack.
That's right. And so their job is, and I've had several dogs, as soon as we drive up home, they'll run out in the backyard, bark, 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 making sure there's nothing in the backyard. When we get out of the car and walk around the back of the house, come in. Because they want to go out first out that door. They want to make sure that if there's anything out there that could be a threat to you, they're the first line of defense.
Yeah.
And so that's why if your dog wants to go out before you, do not scold them. Thank them. Because they will, it just helps you bond with them that much closer. But that's the reason why. They're not being disrespectful. They're living up to their true DNA, which is to protect the members of their pack.
Yeah, we learning to be a pack member. That's maybe that's what we should have called this, because we talk about Abby rescued us.
Yeah.
We had lost our previous Rottweiler. We've had 3. They all, including Abby now, they're all 3 on permanent perimeter patrol back in the back property. But Abby shows up at our neighbor's house a week later after we'd lost Sadie. And my next door neighbor comes over at 9:30 at night with a beer in his hand and says, "I think this dog's looking for you." And scrawny, she weighed about 40 pounds, which for a Rottweiler,
that's bag of bones.
Ribs. Yeah, sack of bones. And we had when we had just returned from a trip, and we had microbursts. We had mini tornadoes activity. That it had just been horrible weather. And somebody in the beginning of that or during that or whenever, she had been dumped. And been out in all of that. So when we got her, she was eat up with heartworms and everything else. And she was just as neurotic as she could be.
Oh
There
yeah.
was this, but there was this great dog there, and you know, it was real obvious that she was looking for her pack,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
we had her for 10 years, and we were her pack for 10 years.
Oh yeah. That's a wonderful story because it's amazing how much companionship that dogs bring to you, and just dogs are so quickly to forgive you for anything if they snap at you or bark at you or something.
My favorite prayer,
Ah.
Jim. Lord, help me become the man my dog thinks I am.
Oh boy, I know what you mean, brother. That'd be a full-time job for all of us, wouldn't it, folks?
Because the sun rises and sets, you
Yeah,
know. And
yeah.
Abby was interesting as a Rottweiler, um, and she really gravitated instantly to me as her pack leader, or a
Hmm.
dog, or a alpha.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but she didn't know how to play. She never played. She'd been kept. Our vet just figured out she'd been kept in a cage her entire life. You can tell by the wear marks where as a puppy she'd just gnawed and gnawed and gnawed on a cage. She
Hmm.
didn't know how to play. Nobody had ever played with her. You throw a ball and she just kind of look at you and walk off in a different direction,
Yeah.
you know. And then she began, and she didn't bark.
Hmm.
She wouldn't bark, and it took about a year before we heard her bark. And
Hmm.
finally she got where if you threw a ball, she would take it and run around in circles and play keep away. She made up her own games, and 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 it was just, this dog had just was such a joy, and such a pain in the behind at the same time, because she was still just as neurotic as she. And I got to tell you, how she got the name Abby, Jim?
Mm-mm.
Because after a few days of having her, she's just a mess. We finally landed on the name Abby. Okay, this is for film buffs out there. The Mel Brooks movie Young
Okay.
Frankenstein
Yeah.
was Abby Normal.
Oh.
Igor finds the brain that's supposed to go in the Frankenstein creature and drops it, and then he goes around looking and he finds another bottle with a brain in it, and it says abnormal. So he's like, Abby Normal.
There you go.
So she became Abby Normal, and but I mean, just she had such a heart. Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
such a heart.
And I think dogs like that who have come from a tough situation, they know
Oh yeah.
that they have just been rescued. And I think it just brings out more of what they want to show in their appreciation. And I like to share another
They
story about a
rescue
dog.
us. They
Oh,
rescue
yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah. There was a young lady by the name of Wendy Rankin up in Brackenbridge, Pennsylvania. She had a dog she
Boy, say
called
that
Hero.
8 times fast.
Say that what?
Say that 8 times fast.
Oh, I'll try not to. I might lose control of my tongue there.
Or
Her
so
dog was
might.
named Hero. And after he got injured in a traffic accident, she was making a tough choice whether she wanted to put the dog down or not. And the family, I mean, they love the dog like we all understand. And they decided we're going to try to save this dog and all that. And the dog recovered, thank the good Lord. And Hero had an opportunity to live up to her name because a few months later in February, Hero woke up the family at 3 a.m. barking fiercely, which was very unusual for her. But the reason she was barking is because the family home was on fire.
Mm.
And the Rankin family credits the survival to Hero because she woke them up in time to where they could get out because the flames were coming down, towards them in the hallway. And you get trapped back there. I mean, it's hard to get out windows and stuff like that. So it's really amazing how, and there's been many, many, many times that dogs have woken up their owners in the middle of the night
Oh yeah.
because someone's outside the house that's a threat, and they will let them know, hey, you're not going to just come in here and take advantage of my pack.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to wake them up. We're going to put a fight on your hands. And even little dogs, man, they'll jump right in there and grab your heels or whatever. I mean, they don't.
Little dogs are really, in many cases, the more vicious ones.
Yeah.
And part of that reason is because of what they were trained to do for so many years. Now, dog training generally takes advantage of the existing traits of a particular breed,
right?
But also for generations, those traits were bred into specific breeds. So your terriers, for example, that whole family, are vicious little things. I mean, but they were trained to go after small animals, rodents, and
rats and stuff,
things like that, and root them out and just tear it up. And so when we are, I'm always cautious. You mentioned about not looking at the dog in the eye when you don't know the dog, especially. Right. But I'm always very, very ready just to not look them in the eye, but just hold my hand down and give them the chance to come up,
right,
and make a decision that I'm okay. No sudden movement.
Yeah,
I'm okay, and hold my hand there so that they can nuzzle the hand.
Yes, on their terms.
On their terms. And even with Abby in the beginning, she would just want to be loved so much, and you'd start to pet her, and all of a sudden she would just like that. And more than once, tore a little skin or something. She wasn't biting, but she was suddenly out of a comfort zone. And it took a period of time, for her to overcome that. But she was just such a loving dog. But you're right, the small dogs, breeds.
Yeah, because they were bred to go into the places and get these big, huge rats. Because some of those rats, man, cats couldn't handle them.
No, they're as big as a cat.
Yeah, and so they had to be, trained to be ferocious, and so that got into their DNA, I guess you'd call it, or whatever.
Well, part of it was in there. Part of it was trained in there. Where does one end and the other begin? I mean, if you look at your herding dogs, okay.
Oh yeah.
Your herding dogs, that's a natural element. They'll
nip your heels.
Collies and some of the others that are used. Sheep dogs. They'll herd. If you got 2 or 3 kids, they'll be herding the kids around. And then you have the dogs like the ones that are trained to for sleds. And I had the owner of a company that I worked for at one point. I was the head of marketing for them, for the worldwide marketing. But he had a husky. In fact, we named a whole line of the company's products after the husky. But this dog, if he was working in the yard, this dog would just be antsy until he figured out, okay, he rigged up a little hitch with the kid's wagon that he could hang over the dog, and that dog would pull wood and rocks or anything else around the yard, because that's who they were. Labradors, those dogs, anything you put out there, they'll bring it back because they're retrievers.
Oh yeah. Right? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right, because I've had several Australian cattle dogs, and they are definitely a herding dog, and they are a dog because they got, goodness, I forget all the different breeds in there, but one of the animals they're bred with is the dingo, because they were bred from the wild dog, because they were bred to be able to, in Australia, to go over long distances and be able to herd cattle back and all that. But they are nippers. They will nip your heel, and it's frustrating, it's aggravating, but you have to work with them because that's the way they're programmed. That's the way they're wired. And my wife just gets so mad because the dog that was mine, he took to me, was Range. He was a male. And she'd be walking out across the yard to do something, and he would walk up and nip her finger like, you're not supposed to be going out here. He did not want her going away from the house. And how many times have we heard stories of a toddler
wandering away from home, and they hear the toddler screaming, and the dog has got the toddler by the wrist, usually, and slowly pulling the kid back against their will. And that's why the kid's hollering. The dog's not biting them. The dog is just latched onto him and pulling them. And because the dog knows, hey, you're a little kid. You shouldn't be out here.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility to take care of you, and I'm bringing you back. And Emerson, I'd like to share this story, if I may, about a dog by the name of Angel. There was an 11-year-old boy by the name of Austin Foreman. He lived up in British Columbia. And his golden retriever was a dog by the name of Angel. Now, he noticed that on this particular day, Angel was sticking very close to him as if she knew something was up. And he was out gathering firewood to put in his family's backyard for a fire. And all of a sudden, a cougar charged him. And the dog just responded. And while the Angel was fighting this cougar, the little boy was able to run inside the house. His mother called the local guy over, 911, to battle the cat and the dog that was raging. It was a fight raging underneath the deck of the house. And the guy got over there in time and shot and killed the cougar. And the Angel, the dog, suffered some very deep bites and scratches, as you can imagine. But anyway, was taken to the animal hospital, got surgery, and quickly recovered. And Austin and the family, they had to give her a steak dinner for her bravery. But that's the point. The little boy noticed, and he told his mother that the dog was sticking close to him when he was outside. He was just gathering firewood for the family fire for they're going to cook out. And it's amazing how dogs can sense danger, or if they get a vibe or whatever you want to call it. You may have a better way of explaining it than I can, Emerson, but they sense.
I don't.
Ask your dog if you got him.
I don't.
Yeah, I hear you. But, it's just amazing how they can get tuned in as if they're they got a mental GPS of what's going to be coming.
Yeah.
And
and part of it is their senses. There's their smell.
Yep.
When the dog goes out in the yard, they don't look around. They hold their nose up and they're smelling.
Right.
How do dogs get lost hundreds of miles from home and find their way home? It's by smell.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some magnetic compass inside of them too, but they find those things that are the familiar to them.
Oh yeah.
And they're just amazing. They're amazing.
They really are. They really truly are. And just, like you say, it amazes me how they will go the extra miles, put their life on the line for their family and their loved ones. And, it's really amazing to me. This is a dog by the name of Yogi. And Yogi, he's a golden retriever. He actually won Valor Dog of the Year in 2011 for saving his owner's life from a bicycle accident. And Paul Horton of Austin, Texas, went over the handlebars on his mountain bike and landed on his head. And when he remained, conscious, Yogi was by his side. Horton whispered for Yogi to get help. The dog reluctantly had to leave, but he finally made it to the main road, barked at some neighbors who were walking by, and the people could tell by Yogi's bark that this dog is trying to tell us something. And so the dog led him back to where, Horton was lying, and he was immobile. And doctors found that Horton's vertebrae had pinched his spinal cord, leaving him paralyzed from the chest down. And they credit Yogi with actually saving his life.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how we say dogs are man's best friend. They prove it day in and day out. And I'll tell you the little ways, and there's a lesson in this. The little ways that dogs teach us is that they're there for you every single day, just showing love, and that
unconditional.
Unconditional love. That you belong to them, they belong to you. And that is something we could do every single day in our lives. We could take a big lesson from that.
Yeah.
And just be a friend and, share, unconditional love with our fellow man.
Yeah.
That's huge, isn't it, Emerson?
It is. And there's, I have to say that I was talking about Abby, and we had just lost a previous Rottweiler, and you kind of gave a lead in there, so I'll run with this one.
Sure.
I had to go on a trip to Tampa and then over to Naples, Florida. And the last thing I did before I got in the car to leave was I gave Sadie, our previous Rottweiler, took her for a walk. Sadie was on her last legs, and we got about 500 feet, and she just plopped down. And I ended up having to carry, she was about 80, 85 pounds. I had to carry Sadie back to the house. And we knew that the time was short, and I said, well, when we get back, we'll go see the vet. Well, I was driving down from Tampa to Naples. That's on Interstate 75 in Florida. And literally, and my wife had to have the vet come over with his assistant and a couple of friends, and they were having to put Sadie down. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I was pulling over at every intersection. I was just bawling my eyes out.
Oh yeah.
And get to Naples. This was a international client of mine. We were in 50 or 60 countries. They were having their annual meeting, the board, at the Naples Ritz-Carlton, beautiful hotel. I get to the hotel, I get in my room, and I lay down, and the linens are satin. Okay, and all of this is, and I was just exhausted, and I just went out. I just totally went to sleep, and I woke up. I woke up, and my hand was doing this on the corner of of that satin pillowcase. And in my mind, I was doing that Sadie's ears.
Oh yeah.
And the tears just started all over again.
Oh yeah.
It's that unconditional. It's unconditional, and they're horrible owners in many cases, and the dogs are still loyal and unconditional and protecting, and that's their pack, and they don't question that part of it.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
People who mistreat animals. But I'll say this: one of the things that I've seen over the last few years is service dogs in the military, and now in many fire and police departments and sheriff's departments are given rank. They are given rank. So I don't know what jurisdiction somebody may live in, but if you ever are being stopped by a service dog with one of our first responders at an airport, on the street or whatever, you treat that dog with the same respect that you would if it was another uniform standing there. Because in many of these jurisdictions, I know here it's the case, because people be running and they'll shoot the dog.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing. You just shot an officer.
That's right.
Because that office, the human officers are so dependent upon all of the gifts, all of the skills, all of the senses that service dog has. And they can't do their job as well without them. And they have bonded. Think of all of our vets coming back from the Middle East who have raised money personally to try to make sure that the service animals that they had were able to also get out.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, this is something that's that kind of bond, that unconditional, uh,
Mm.
you're my pack,
Mhm.
and that's totally, there's no condition on that. That's totally unconditional. You are my
Yeah.
pack,
Yeah.
and that's it.
I knew some guys. I knew one guy. Let me phrase that. Back in Vietnam, I said this yesterday on yesterday's show. Uh, he had a K9. He was part of the K9 unit and or assigned to the K9 unit. And his dog and him got so close because he was a tunnel rat, and that dog would go in the tunnels with him.
Wow.
And
Probably ahead of him.
yes, yes, yes. And him and the dog got so close. And we had some Vietnamese people that were friendly, but that dog, he had no respect for any Vietnamese.
Mm.
I remember the first time I walked up, say hello. I knew who he was, but I never met his dog. I walked up to him and just held out my hand. The dog came over and sniffed my hand, licked me. He could tell I was I was a good guy. And this guy, he actually extended to try. He wanted to bring the dog back. He actually extended to stay with his dog. And I don't remember what all happened after that. But I want to share this story with you. Layka, Layka, is a hero military dog. Now, despite getting shot 4 times by an AK-47 at point blank range, she still attacked and subdued the bad guy who was attacking her handler. She survived a 7-hour surgery and was awarded a medal for being a hero. Now, how do you think that guy felt about that? Here's this guy attacking him and all of that, and this dog is shot 4 times with an AK-47, but this dog has got no quit.
Yeah.
And this dog was able to subdue the guy and save her master from further injury, and then had to go through 7-hour surgery, and she was awarded a medal for being a hero.
And the people who don't understand that, they don't understand that, and they think that it's not diminishing the work that the humans are doing. It's something that there's a tremendous bond, and the talents and skills save lives. And as a result of that, recognizing that they are a component that is doing that heroic work,
yes,
is critical. Like I said, if you just take the natural disasters that have happened in the last 10 or 20 years, there have probably been hundreds of thousands of people whose lives have been saved. If you take just the dogs who are able to sniff out the landmines, what's going on over in the Ukraine right now, one of the things that still happens is there's going to be hundreds of thousands of landmines left behind. Kids will be stepping on those mines 10 years from now, but the dogs are able to sniff them out, and they're able to do a quicker and a better job and zero in on it than we've all seen people, the images or maybe in person of the slow and process of mine sweeping by hand. The dogs sniff it out, and they're faster
and more accurate.
And they're accurate. And so they enhance us. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, they really complement the mission. They really do, and they really complement your life. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting very short on time. Got about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes left. But I just want to say, when it comes to dogs, we should all have the loving heart of a dog. We really should, especially to our family and friends. And just like the dog lets us know that their unconditional love for us every time they see us, especially when you go somewhere and you come home. And goodness, they're just a blessing to have. And we're so fortunate and blessed to have them. And
that nurturing aspect of the dogs and the sport of the pack. That's why they take dogs to children's wards and to burn hospitals and into places where people they're hurting, and
Mhm.
they need, and the healing that takes place
Mhm.
is greater. The numbers are greater when they do that than when
Mhm.
they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have to understand it. They don't just let animals in hospitals wander around. The thing
Mhm.
is, the healing is greater.
Mhm. Yeah.
And dogs tap into that.
Oh, yeah. They really do. And again, we're almost out of time here. We're getting short up there on the ticker we see. And we just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about dogs some more because this is Dog Week. This week is going through the dogs, actually going for the dogs. And we want to give them their recognition. And if you have a special story about your dog, please email us. And they're at inspiratione360tv.com, or just share, things about your dog that makes them special to you. We'd love to hear that. And thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and love yourself, love others. And we hope, on behalf of Emerson and myself, we hope and pray that you and your loved ones are healthy, happy, safe. Hope you have a wonderful day or evening, whenever you might see this. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.